It actually happened. The Acolyte actually released to the applause of tens of hundreds of Disney Star Wars fans, and the audible groan of millions of others. I watched the episodes 1 and 2, and the sleep apnea I was diagnosed with went away while I was watching it. I'll be talking about some spoilers and mixing in parts from episodes 1 and 2, so if you don't want to hear them, who cares? You clicked on the video, you knew what this was going to be discussed here. Now, before we start, I don't want people thinking this is going to be a generic, overly negative review. So, I like to start off by thanking some people. First of all, Leslie Headland is one of them. She has taught me a very valuable lesson. You can be as bad as you want to be at whatever occupation you have. Somebody out there will still pay for your mediocrity. Failing upwards is a trend we see a lot in Hollywood, and this is a prime example of that. I'm sure she has so many other projects lined up after this, and why shouldn't she? She is fantastic at showing you exactly what not to do when writing a TV show, and I thank God for her for giving me these free lessons. Speaking of lessons, let's talk about Kathleen Kennedy. While she might not know it, she is the best teacher of all. If you want to know how to drive away a devoted fan base and make them apathetic, lose an entire generation of kids to said IP of that fan base, and take the most lucrative IP in cinematic history and turn it into a failing television program on a failing streaming service, then she's your woman. I can think of no one better to show me how not to run a business than Kathleen Kennedy. That doesn't matter though. The Force is female and everything is right in the world. Now the Acolyte. The Acolyte is a boring, intelligence-insulting mess of a show. In order to watch this show, you'll have to go the Clockwork Orange route, and I'm sure you'll suffer the same agony. From the very first scene when we are introduced to our main antagonist, May, remember these names. You can tell it's going to be corny in all the ways that's not fun.
Attack me.
Love, you're an assassin. Why are you directly confronting your enemy and wearing one of the most recognizable hairstyles, I might add, in broad daylight? I mean, we learn later it's because of some trials she must complete for an unknown master she has that is definitely not her mom or anything, but we'll touch on that later. A fight scene ensues that is so bland and is trying so hard to beat a Matrix, you might as well just go watch The Matrix. The choreography is better, the acting is better, everything is better. Just go watch The Matrix. It's so predictable that while I was watching it, I caught exactly when this surprise attack was about to come up. Right there. Now, I'm no expert on science and things of that nature, but I'm pretty sure that if metal is flying fast at your face with a laser sword and you decide to cut said metal, wouldn't it just keep flying? It wouldn't just fall straight to the ground. It would just go right into her face. So she should be dead right now. I'm not understanding. It doesn't just disappear. Whatever. It's a story about wizards and blah, 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 blah. So we get to the point where the antagonist takes advantage of what is the Jedi's downfall in most scenarios, their duty to the innocent. They wouldn't just stop exactly what they're doing in order to tend to said innocence. They would still protect themselves. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is where I groaned so loud I almost woke up my sleeping daughter. In Disney Star Wars, multiple characters can be stabbed with a lightsaber even multiple times and somehow survive. A character can be dragged through flames at a snail's pace and have no physical damage whatsoever. Hell, they can even run through an open field with mega lasers from big ass starships firing on them from above and get away without a scratch. But this Jedi, at the height of the Republic, dies to a tiny dagger. This is stupid. This is when I knew it was more the same, and it can only go downhill from here. And oh boy, was I right. Also, they killed off Carrie-Anne Moss in the first 5 minutes, and I'm sure we won't see any flashbacks of her or anything like that. Oh, look at this. She's evil, but not that evil. She'll kill in cold blood, but she's not that evil to kill somebody in front of a child. Oh, outstanding morals here, Leslie Headland, if you ask me. This is a great example of what to do. We then cut to Osha. No, not that Osha. This Osha, who is our main protagonist. Remember these names. They are important, and I definitely will not. We don't know much about her until every other character that shows up starts explaining everything about her backstory in the most egregious expo dump that I have. I hate those. Let's stop real quick. The expo dumps and storytelling that they do nowadays are so lazy and so insulting that they just think you're stupid and won't pick up on context clues if they show rather than tell. This is so annoying. But we continue with Osha as she walks with her friend here, and they're mechanics, so they have to go outside on the ship and work on some a raging fire in space. Now I know there's going to be some people going, well, there was a fire when the Death Star blew up, and but a fleeting flame from an explosion, which does not stay, mind you, is not the same as a flame literally roaring in space like there is a campfire there. That does not make sense. Even for the world of Star Wars, where the sounds of spaceships go in space, it does not make sense. Not whatsoever. Whatever. It's a story about wizards and blah, 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 blah. So, after the Jedi arrive, because again, they think you're dumb, so they tell you that the Jedi are here instead of showing you that.
Jedi?
We get our Plank of Wood, who is supposed to be a main character Yord. We will refer to him as Jedi Knight Plank. Jedi Knight Plank is by far the most annoying character in this show. He exists only to be down talked to by another female character who we'll get into later, and all his plans, even one that sounds sound, will be turned down. Why? Because he has man parts. They're investigating the murder of a Jedi Master, so they sent a Jedi Knight and a Padawan to get said criminal. Why would you take into custody somebody accused of killing a Jedi and not accompany them when they need to go? Why would you just assume that she killed said Jedi when she's on the other side of the galaxy? Why don't you look at some holotapes, see about her alibis? All of this makes common sense, but to Jedi Knight Plank, none of it does. He just wants to give you an expo dump.
You lost your entire family.
Not only that,
I guess we just need some dramatic tension.
also doesn't help that the actor is Cell and he doesn't know anything about the source material.
But if you can't look and see the Anakin blowing up the Death Star.
But I digress. She is then taken into custody by a robot, not the Jedi that came to accompany the killer of a master Jedi. No, a robot. And then afterwards, we are introduced to quite possibly the best character in the show and the best actor on the show who conveys even a small amount of emotion and actual acting in this entire thing, who is Soul. But we're going to refer to him as Jedi Master Squid Game. While introducing Jedi Master Squid Game, they also introduced the Dragon Ball Evolution Piccolo, who is undoubtedly the worst actress in this entire show. But she's Leslie Headland's wife, so I guess going through the motions is par for the course for her. But back to Master Squid Game. He is the only one that gives you something to hang on to, and is the only name you'll probably remember after watching this. He trained Osha after her family died because, again, they have to give an entire expo dump on who this character is, and we can't just find out for ourselves. When she was little, seriously doubted by her family dying, by the way, with her twin running around, and the master that the twin serves, who most likely just might be the mom of both of these girls. But he has an attachment to her, which is kind of odd since this is the High Republic and things like that should be looked down on because, you know, it's a path to the dark side and all this other thing. But he hit you with some boomer talk, so we just move on from that. And again, there's something there that finally had me a little interested, but his performance isn't enough because the writing is terrible. When he's sent out to get Osha after the transport ship guarded by one robot and two convertible chairs is taken over by the criminals, who leave Osha there and somehow she survives the crash. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that soon. He tells his companions he's gathered for his trip, Jedi Knight Plank and Padawan X-23, the one that talks down to Jedi Knight Plank, that Osha had a twin sister who he watched die, so there's no way she's alive. But in the next scene, when he finds Osha and she tells him she had a vision about her little sister, he just goes,
I believe you.
It's all over the place. Like you just said you saw her die, but now you're saying you believe her when she says that she saw her sister. And there's no evidence, no nothing. That what? This doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry I'm using logical thinking when I'm watching this show. This is dumb. But you're gonna take her word for it. Okay, man, sure. Whatever, it's a story about wizards and blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the crash landing, by the way, because how in the holy hell does she survive this crash? She straps herself to this chair, this insignificant thing struggles to even put on a seatbelt and just braces for impact. In the next scene we see her, however, she is laying on the floor out of the chair. That means she was flung from said chair out of her seatbelt in a hurling ship hurling towards a planet of a name that I cannot come up with. And she somehow survived?
Whatever, it's a story about wizards and blah 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 blah.
Then our merry band of Jedi, led by Master Squid Game, they find her. And wait a minute, can we just get to the timing of this real quick? So she crashes on a planet, has her vision, and then the entire time, the Master's back there, they find out that the ship was taken over by the prisoners and that it crash landed on this planet. So the time that it took them to get to said planet, she sat there in a freezing cold and had a vision that looked like it didn't last any more than a minute or 2 minutes. What is the time? You can't just hyperspace to the other side of the galaxy at an instant. Even in Star Wars, it doesn't work like that.
Whatever, it's a story about wizards and blah 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 blah.
But they get her. He says he believes her somehow, some way. Even though he said he saw her sister die, he believes her. Okay. Then we get the cringiest line I think I've heard in the Star Wars project. And we have The Last Jedi to contend with. I think it's up there with the Rings of Piss talking about rocks and water.
The Jedi live in a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser are no threat to them, but an Acolyte kills without a weapon.
No, you're contradicting yourself right here because May literally killed Master Trinity with a tiny dagger. For fuck's sake. Episode 2 is actually worse than Episode 1. Again, I have to applaud Leslie Headland here for being as bad as she is on a consistent level. It's actually impressive. So we arrive on one of the many planets with names that I could give a shit about, and May is up to her shenanigans again. The little kid that she has distracts the probe droid so she could get to it. But then when she throws the thing on it, it just goes back into the same position it was in beforehand. So why did you even need the little kid? Oh, maybe so later when the little kid shows up with the merry band of Jedi, she can point out that the assailant looked just like the girl that you're carrying because we need dramatic tension or whatever the fuck. Okay, sure man, whatever. She finds the other master she needs to kill, but his mind field is too strong, so she can't get through it. She then leaves and meets up with another character who we're gonna call generic Asian man. His voice kinda does sound like the master of episode 1, so he's another suspect in this murder mystery, not murder mystery, because we already know who the murderer is, but let's keep going. This is where we find out there's certain parameters that she needs to have in order to kill these Jedi Masters. For what? Dramatic tension or whatever the fuck. We'll find out soon. He gives her a poison for the Master Jedi to drink. I'm sure he won't do something that foolish. I'm sure that just won't happen. So our band of no-names led by Master Squid Game are led to the Jedi Temple where she broke in and oh my god, a fat Jedi? You too, middle American obese man, can be represented in a cult. I hope you feel good about yourself. I can't wait to see him do some Obi-Wan flips. At the same time, May has broken back into the Jedi Temple. How? We don't know. And she somehow convinces the Jedi Master Mind to kill himself. I'm sure there's more to the story that we'll find out, but just right here, it seems dumb. Why would he do that? For this murder mystery that's not a mystery, because we already know what the mystery is. He was one of the Jedi Masters that was on the planet when she was a little kid and was complacent in the death of her family, and they covered it up. That's why that there was no record of her twin being in the records, so they didn't know. They're all complacent and the Jedi are somehow evil, and the Sith will be good for some reason, and I'm pretty sure the Master is the mom. And then the funniest part of this episode happens. I was watching this with a friend, and me and him said this at the same time. You guys are stupid. They figure out it's a poison, and there's a local shop where a guy can make the poison, and they know that it had to come from there due to the kind of poison that it is. It can't sustain itself in that form for long. So, Fat Jedi, he sees it's not the usual guy, so he knows that must be the assailant. So instead of doing the logical thing that Jedi Knight Plank No Other came up with, going in, grabbing the assailant, and questioning him about the whereabouts of May and why he made the poison and what's going on, No, his plan gets shot down by Padawan X-23 because remember, he has man parts. He can't have any agency. And they say, no, we're going to use OSHA as a replacement for May. Me and my friend was like, this is the dumbest plan ever. There's so many plot holes you could put into this. What if May already went and talked to generic Asian man? How does she know how May talks? Maybe she has a different kind of way of speaking now. What if he asked her a question that only May can know? What if May already knew that her sister was alive? Which we find out she didn't somehow, even though there was a force vision that OSHA had that somehow connected to her sister. So I don't know how her sister, who is more in tune with the force, didn't feel that. I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm getting angry. And what if it's a trap? What if generic Asian man already saw the Jedis there and he knows they're going to comfort him? So when she goes in, what if she gets hurt? All of these things just go out the window and they go, you know what, Jedi Padawan X-23? You're correct. We're going to use your plan. And when you know it, OSHA fucks up the plan as soon as she gets in there because she starts talking weird and she thanks the guy. But remember, this plan came from a woman, so it just goes swiftly, somehow, some way. So generic Asian man sells out May, and then they spring a trap for her. Do they wait for her to come in to meet generic Asian man and come up with a plan to trap her? No, they just confront her in the open courtyard because we need a cool action fight scene or whatever the fuck. Here we get cool action fight scenes so the audience can forget everything they just saw, even though that was going to happen anyway. It's just a waste of time because the fight scene is kind of mid and it serves no purpose. You're a Jedi master. Subdue her. Then we get to the juicy bit where they tell May that OSHA is alive. And here's where my confusion from earlier came in. How does OSHA have a force vision of her sister, but yet her sister, who is more in tune with the force than her, I might add, how did she not feel the presence of her sister in the force vision? That doesn't make any sense to me. But don't worry about that. We got more great acting to do. So she's surrounded and decides to do the very first smart thing I've seen this show do. There's dirt underneath her, so she force pushes it up into the air. So, do you think this Master Assassin go ahead and kills Master Squid Game so she can get one more off her list? No, she just runs away. And of course she does, because doing anything logical in this show would just break the canon, I guess. She's running away, and when you know it, her sister finds her in the entire huge city somehow, and instead of tasing her and taking her in for questioning, she just stands there because we need more acting from our good actor. So of course she gets away, and the Jedi, being as competent as ever, Master Squid Game calls back to Master Piccolo to let them know. He's like, we need to track her. We know where the next Jedi Master she's going to kill. We know where he is. We know where she's going. Let us go there. No, Master Piccolo's like, no, just come back. We need to talk about this first. So smart, so stunning, so brave. Seriously, you cannot write your characters like this and expect us not to hate them. Like, are you doing this actively on purpose, or are you just that incompetent? May, in her greatness, decides, no, I'm not just going to leave the city. I'm going to double back to where generic Asian man sold me out, and I know generic Asian man sold me out, and I'm going to try to attack him and threaten him. And when you know it, he knows where Jedi Wookiee is, and they're like, hey, we're going to go for Jedi Wookiee. And you think we would get some kind of resolution to this episode instead of another cliffhanger, but no, we just get a shot of Jedi Wookiee about to cook some shrimp or some shit, and then roll credits. I'm not trying to be just a hater to hate because it's Disney Star Wars or anything like that. No, I'm being honest. I watched it on its own merits as a television show. And every decision that these characters made me want to bang my head against the wall and not stop. It is seriously one of the dumbest shits I've ever seen in the entirety of Disney Star Wars. And I went through Kenobi. I went through the Book of Boba Fett. Okay? This is so dumb. This entire thing is crazy. The fight choreography is decent at most and trash at best. We got Master Squid Game trying to bring a semblance of anybody trying to act in this show, trying to turn shit into diamonds, and it still doesn't work. You would not remember a single planet name. You would not remember a single character name. You probably won't even remember a single action that these characters take. But you're going to have the dumbasses on Twitter going, oh, this is peak, this is peak. And then you ask them what is good about this television show, and they cannot tell you. You know why? Because they are smooth brain. They watch things without a logical thought. They just let things go into their head and they go, oh, well, you know, flashing lights and colors, and I like Star Wars. And there's not a critical thought being thought by any of these people who are saying this show is good. This actually sucks. Like, I'm not trying to just be a hater. I watched it on its own merit. I have to say it again. I watched it on its own merit to give it a fair shot. I wasn't going in to hate it. I was going in to just watch it. And it is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I almost fell asleep while I was watching this. It's just more of the same. And it's just all so boring. It's bland. It's ugly. It's generic. And it's just more Disney Star Wars. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And you would think somebody working at that godforsaken company would say, you know what, maybe we can make something with some intelligence, make something that actually is a television show and not a prolonged movie where we cut off into chapters at the worst possible moments. This sucks. I don't even want to continue watching this. I watched it because I know you motherfuckers out there don't want to see it. So I put myself through that pain, okay? I put myself through pain to watch this. It hurt watching it. Like, I almost fell asleep. You don't understand. I was, like, in pain watching this fucking television show, man. It's boring. But that's just par for the course with Disney Star Wars, man. Just more of the same. Smooth brain entertainment. I'm gonna go touch some grass. I'm gonna go read a comic book or something. You know what? I'm about to go play Elden Ring. Y'all be easy, man. And unsubscribe from Disney Plus. Fuck.